जादू मंतर, जादू मंतर, जादू मंतर। You are going into the future.
You talking to me?
They always be these clothing.
என் பேர் மாணிக்கம். எனக்கு இன்னொரு பேர் இருக்கு.
Talking to me?
Queen is dead.
Hello. I am not doing the Dhruv ka hello or Varun ka some sort of I don't know. Hello. Like he's like announcing in the 1940s ka radio theater or something like that. So none of that BS or anything like that. So hello. Nobody recognizes me because I haven't introduced myself. I am Amartya. I have Cris and Adityan with me. Adityan has joined after quite a while, right? Adityan, when was the last episode you joined?
I think for Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary, the episode in which we did not let Adityan speak only because we hated the movie so much that poor Adityan got shafted entirely at this point. Don't worry, Adityan, this is kind of like an apology episode to you also. You will get enough of a chance to speak, I promise you, at this point. And of course, I have Cris with me. According to Dhruv, the Debbie Downer of all these QID episodes at this point. Cris.
Yeah, apparently there's just no chance of me having a good year with respect to big releases. I'm just disappointed with one after the other. So
I am waiting
that's
for
my
your
role.
reaction, hot mess reaction to Doomsday, because that movie is no way is this movie is that movie going to
That
be
one
good.
is a guaranteed dumpster fire. So I'm going for Schadenfreude, right? More than anything else. I just want to indulge. It's
Give me
like
that
when I
money.
watch
Give me your money, man. I'll watch Dune 3 again.
Yeah.
It's like when I watch like a Milap Nolan Zaveri film, and I'm going there just to appreciate how terrible it is. That's how I'm going to go watch Doomsday. So you can anticipate those reactions.
Yeah, at this point, it's like it's almost like waiting to see Marvel diehards and even comic book diehards trying to rationalize the movies that are coming out, and they're like shifting sands of quality. Again, that's not to say that I am not a diehard. I am a huge fan of this genre anyway, but I am also quote unquote a realist, as much as realist as you can possibly be in this circumstance. Having said that, we are talking about arguably the biggest movie of this year right now at this point.
Yes.
Projected to be, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I think the 40th film or the 38th film in the MCU.
38.
Yeah, 38th film in the MCU, Spider-Man Brand New Day, is on track to make close to 900 million worldwide.
I'm losing my mind. I am totally out of control. I gotta fix whatever this is right now.
That is insane.
In its opening weekend, by the way, not
Yes.
like in general, in its
That-
opening weekend.
That is insane. I can definitely tell you it is insane because people I know who do not watch English movies, they only watch Hindi movies and South movies and all that shit. They are the people who are posting WhatsApp statuses of Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I'm
Yes.
like, yep, this movie is going to make a shit ton of money. No question about it. It is also Spider-Man Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, a name I always mix up. I always mix up the Daniel and the Destin. Sorry, guy is a good director. It's entirely my fault that I mix up his names. So, Destin Daniel Cretton, this is the first version of a fourth Spider-Man movie. What I mean is that this is Sam Raimi did 3 Spider-Man movies. Mark Webb did 2 Spider-Man movies. I think all the better for it. कि उसने दोनों ही किया है क्योंकि third movie क्या होता I have no idea. And then Tom Holland until now had 3 Spider-Man movies within the contextual appearance of the MCU along with his other MCU appearances. So this is in a way the first fourth Spider-Man movie. This is already giving me a headache. So, and for the first time, this has a new director. Destin Daniel Cretton has done previously Shang-Chi, one of those movies of Phase 4 of the MCU that we would like to forget, but unfortunately the movie is not that bad. I also think that is because Tony Leung is in it, and Tony Leung can rescue even the biggest of dumpster fires.
I mean,
He
it's
can
not
do no
dumpster fire
wrong.
per se.
Yeah, and the movie is not bad, honestly. The main protagonist is a piece of milk toast, but the movie itself is not bad. That I can say. And Destin Daniel Cretton also has done a mini series. Unfortunately, a mini series now. It was renewed for a season 2, and then within 6 months, it was unfortunately cancelled. Not even unfortunately, I can understand why Marvel is doing it. It's not a good thing. I'm talking about Wonder Man, the TV show starring Yahya Abdul Mateen the second and Ben Kingsley. Fantastic TV show. One of the rare, well-made Marvel TV shows within the Disney Plus slate, which is actually not about superpowers at all. It is about the film industry within the MCU, which is very fascinatingly funny. So, and it genuinely works in a way. And so I'm like, I was very much interested in what he does, because this director, unlike our previous John Watts, this director actually has a handle more on the emotional aspect of it than the action part of it. He's very much interested in the physical tactility of the action sequences, at least I felt, because Shang-Chi is very much inspired by the wuxia movies and the Asian fighting style movies. So
Yes, of
you can
course.
understand where the inspiration comes from and the definite sense of tactility that he brings to Spider-Man in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yeah.
So as you can understand, and I'm moving straight into opening thoughts here, because, or not even opening thoughts, I was moving straight into expectations. And I think this is an interesting discussion as to why this movie is making so much money. Because considering it's an opening weekend, right? Word of mouth regarding a movie can hardly actually make a person cancel a ticket or like rejuvenately buy a ticket, right? You have already bought your ticket, you are going to watch the movie anyway. So opening day is completely dependent on previous hype and trailer hype and all that stuff. So the main question that arises is, what were the expectations that were coming out of Spider-Man No Way Home that came out in 2021, and then there was a 5-year long gap. Yeah, so I would start with Adityan. What were your expectations about from Brand New Day, at least?
Actually, technically, my sense, Spider, there's no bad Spider-Man movie in my opinion. In my opinion, there's no bad Spider-Man movie or bad Spider-Man content. I don't like to say the word content, but still, there's no Spider-Man. Everything that's related to any IP property that's related to Spider-Man, it's always something good from good to excellent tier always.
Do
So
we include, sorry to interrupt, do we include the Sony universe of Sony Spider-Man villain universe movies, which
I
includes the
mean,
great Madam Web? Okay, okay,
Spider-Man.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so that minimum guarantee is always there. But for Brand New Day, personally, I didn't have much of an expectation per se, because first of all, Destin Daniel Cretton. I mean, I love short term, 12 short term, of course, and Just Mercy. I love that film. Shang-Chi also to some extent. I mean, sequences I like the film. The fight sequence, of course, but of course, it's inspired by the Wuxia movies. Those fight sequences, so that was pretty good. That had a fluidity in all the things, which I loved actually. It had its own individuality post the COVID MCU, which doesn't focus on the multiverse, things like that. So that I loved that, but still, I didn't really have an expectation on Brand New Day, because I had just like, okay, what is gonna mess up, because already we got from Far From Home, which was sorry, No Way Home, which was again related to all the multiverse and stuff like that. Is this going to be multiverse? So I had my expectations down personally, but everyone had their hopes high on this film apart from me, because everyone had their hopes high on me. Even after watching the trailer, also I was not pretty much sold on it, but when I watched the film, I was completely sold, because of course we of course it's Sam Raimi. Yes, of course there's something called the qualia in philosophy, where it defines the instance of a subjective experience, which is something different from what it is. It is specific to yourself, like playing a video game. In this case, Insomniac game Spider-Man. So a lot of the portions which he himself, Destin Daniel himself said, quoted his inspirations, the Insomnia game Spider-Man. So I only played only 2 to 3 times, but whatever I played so far, I could be the Spider-Man in it. So that subjective experience it gives. So this gave that experience after so many after long time after those, because in the pursuit of Infinity Stones we lost the Spider-Man actually to study Spider-Man in MCU. So in pursuit of Infinity Stones. So with this Spider, in this only we had the time to understand who is really Spider-Man. So it gave me the quality of it gave me the same quality of experiencing a Spider-Man video game, the new Spider-Man video game, and of course Sam Raimi Spider-Man. That's the games.
Cris?
I am one of the victims of like severe like MCU fatigue. I actively followed most of it up until Infinity War, up until Endgame, and then watched a couple of the stuff after it, which is mostly like I saw the TV shows, which I remember coming after. I watched a couple of them. Then I watched Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home, and then I just completely stopped up until Fantastic Four last year. And so my expectations were interesting because I have very limited, like I have less than zero expectations from MCU in general, which is why I have not engaged with their stuff at all. But I have very good memories of the Spider-Man films in general. I'm quite fond of the Tobey Maguire films. I don't remember much of the Amazing Spider-Man films, but I remember liking Andrew Garfield in the role, which everybody does. But with the Holland films, also I saw the first one at home and I saw the second one in Hindi, which is very funny on accident.
Oh, you saw the
Uh,
first one at home, of course. Homecoming home.
yeah,
Cheeky, eh?
yeah. The second one we went to the theater and like as the show started, we realized, oh, why is Jake Gyllenhaal talking in Hindi? And then we realized we walked in for the wrong show, but we ended up watching that all the way through. And I remember No Way Home, the nostalgia festival, whatever got to me. So I was like, at least emotionally, I found the Spider-Man films quite engaging, which is for me a big thing for me. Like whatever action aside, I'm not the biggest action fan, and I like the superhero template, but I'm not super like enamored by it. So if the emotionality of it can work, I'm totally on board. So that is basically the expectation I went in, that this is probably going to be like not a great film, but at least better than anything else, the run of the mill stuff. Like, I know a lot of people praise Thunderbolts and all as well, but I just like nothing about it interested me at all. So that was definitely the expectation going in of, if it's watchable, if it gets a reaction out of me which is not rage, I'm going to be like decently satisfied.
And at this point, considering the amount of Hindi picture swill you have seen at this point, मतलब rage को control करना should be paramount at this point.
Absolute.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. I mean, I've never seen any of Destin Daniel Cretton's work. I've not seen Shang-Chi or Wonder Man or any of those lights. So I thought that there was definitely a stylistic and directorial intent, which definitely went through the MCU sloppifying machine, but survived to a certain extent. And the emotionality of it is wonderful. I think the character moments, the interactions between a lot of the characters are magical. Like I bawled my eyes out at least 2 or 3 times in some of the major emotional sequences. And so I'm not going to get to spoilers now, but it's got, for anybody who's not seen it yet, who's listening to the spoiler free section, it's got a crossover with, obviously because MCU, with another property which we'll get to. But both of the Spider-Man and this thing have got, and anybody could be, or especially like you are different, and that is, you're good for being different, and you are loved not because you're different, but because you're you. And that's a message that I tend to really enjoy and appreciate. So that whenever that thematic thing they played with, I thought was quite wonderful. But the rest of it was, I'm sorry, just kind of boring. I think it's a really mixed bag. So emotionally, it worked for me quite well, but the rest of it I just did not care for. So that was kind of what my expectations were. Definitely, some of them were. The negative ones were not as terrible. Like the worst I was expecting for did not happen, but the best I was expecting
Yes.
for didn't either. So it was just kind of like an in-between mixed bag. I don't hate it. I think parts of it are great, parts of it are forgettable. So it's just kind of, it's a middle of the road thing properly for me. Yeah.
Okay. I remember the theater erupting in No Way Home when Tobey Maguire enters through the portal, right? So I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember the sheer craze of it. I remember I have seen, I think, besides Homecoming, I think I've seen Far From Home and No Way Home both in theaters. No Way Home I had to see in theaters. Far From Home I have seen in theaters. I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man had the unfortunate, because of universe building, it had the unfortunate association of being so closely associated with Tony Stark's Iron Man that some essence of the Spider-Man character, that is the everyman relatability, would get lost within the shuffle. It wouldn't go away entirely. The movies would
Yeah.
try desperately to ensure that the relatability remains. At least in Homecoming, the entire point of Homecoming is the fact that this is just a normal high school kid in
Yeah.
Queens, living in Queens. So this is just a normal high school kid living in Queens. The problem, the thing that he was associated with the Avengers is what is making his life both an advantage and a curse. That was the entire point of Homecoming, and it's almost like because of the Avengers, street level heroes and villains are getting affected in more ways than one. That was the whole point of Homecoming for both Spider-Man as well as for Michael Keaton's Vulture. And that movie is also where the first inkling of the organization named Damage Control, who plays a major role in this movie, slowly starts to come into fruition.
Yeah.
Far From Home then essentially becomes, because Far From Home takes place after Infinity War and Endgame, the loss of Tony Stark. Far From Home is essentially Peter Parker searching for a mentor and finding a mentor in a character named Mysterio. That is the only remarkable thing about the movie. Other than that, there is nothing much remarkable about the movie except a chase sequence in a train. Like
Yeah.
that is the only thing remarkable or memorable. And the final scene in Far From Home where Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio actually reveals Spider-Man's identity to the world.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that is memorable or important about Far From Home, unfortunately. No Way Home then becomes essentially Spider-Man trying to put the genie back into the bottle, failing miserably, and also having to contend with mentors of both universal kind and multiversal kind. Because of the universal kind, there is Doctor Strange, who is trying desperately to fill a Tony Stark hole. And in the multiversal kind, with the presence of 2 or 3 Spider-Men who come from another universe and who try to guide him while they battle through villains. The commonality among all these 3 movies is the fact that this is a Spider-Man who has mentors. The problem with the fact of the entire conception of Spider-Man is he does not have a mentor. This entire conception is the fact that his one mentor, that is his uncle, was lost. He has to go through all these tribulations alone, which I genuinely think is one of the very key things that makes him very relatable. A normal person who has gone through a loss, and a normal person who has to live life knowing that the person who has his support or pillar is not there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything to fall back to. He has to grow up, he has to be responsible. And I think the Homecoming trilogy, as good as they are, as good as some of the good parts of this movie had a key thing that was missing until in No Way Home, when they had to essentially replicate that Uncle Ben ka death through the death of Aunt May, and essentially through all the shenanigans make him, restore him, I like to call it restore him back to the Spider-Man we believe, at
Yeah.
least a lot of us believe, that Spider-Man should be. All that is to say, like what Adityan was saying about Qualia, the subjectiveness of Spider-Man comes to me not just from the fact that I have followed all the movies. I am also an avid comic book reader. I have been a Spider-Man fan ever since I've been a kid. So my impression of Spider-Man is very different. My favorite Spider-Man comic book run is the J. Michael Straczynski run. Why? It is very strange. Why? Because in the J. Michael Straczynski comic book run, Spider-Man is divorced from his wife and Spider-Man is a high school teacher. If anybody knows anything about me, they will understand why I relate with this guy. Why I relate specifically with this version of the guy. He is a person who is going through so much, but he is also very much interested in imparting education to kids and imparting his own lifestyle to kids. What that means is this is a character who can live in different iterations, but the core ethos of the character should always remain a sense of insecurity, a sense of fighting through the world. I think my only expectation from Brand New Day is the fact that once you have restored that core ethos, you should maintain that core ethos.
Yeah.
That was my only expectation within the movie. And I can definitely say this, as much as the movie skims a lot on some very specific and pertinent details. Wait, what is his job in Job now? What is he doing? Why does he have a 3D printer? How does all this, how is he making his costume like this now? Where did he get all these computers within 4 years? Like, uh, skimping on some of those pertinent details aside, I think, and I agree wholeheartedly with Chris, that the emotionality of the movie is what makes this movie tick entirely. This is one of the primary reasons why I really, really like this movie. I don't love it. I don't think this reaches Spider-Man 2 levels. No way, it does not. But I also think that this is quite easily one of the best of the Holland movies, at least. Genuinely, I think No Way Home is very close because of the nostalgia factor, but I think Brand New Day succeeds simply because of the emotionality and all, and of
Yeah.
course because of how it creates a world. I think we will get into details more, but that's just what my expectation and my initial thoughts were coming out of the movie. Then again, I also was watching the movie with my nephew, and I was also very much distracted by the fact that a Gen Alpha can't sit still in a theater. I am sorry, they can't sit still in a theater. He is either doing this, either scratching his head, I completely like sitting up curled like a cat in his seat, searching for popcorn or cold drinks, and I'm like, bro, watch the movie, man, what are you doing? And he would be like, I am watching the movie. I'm like, okay, then fine. So it's very strange, a combination only. Anyway,
Yeah.
so once we get into the details of the movie, again, we will resume the usual banter and all that shit, but just for context, and because I know that Dhruv is going to edit and I'm going to make it somewhat easy for Dhruv, starting from now, all discussions will be spoiler. It is spoiler, 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 spoiler. Like, I do not want to repeat this again. Major spoilers. I know that the movie itself doesn't treat what we are going to talk about as a big reveal, but this is a spoiler.
Yeah.
I hope everybody is clear. Now we can move forward. So, Jean Grey.
Going in strong.
Actually,
in
I have
strong.
an answer for. I have an
Yeah.
answer. I have an
Falcon,
answer
please
for.
do.
I have an answer for for Amartya's question. I mean, this is my question too. I mean, I had in my mind when Spider-Man was with the 3D printer and all those huge monitors. Well, only answer I can find is it's because of Aunt May's insurance.
Yeah.
The insurance money because of I mean,
Yeah,
considering
some inheritance and or insurance are
insurance
the
money, I
only
guess.
I
So
think we can reasonably like include two things here. Number one, this is not MCU, this is not the real New York, right? This is MCU New York. If you remember what MCU New York goes through every day, I can guarantee you housing prices are very low in Manhattan at this point.
Exactly.
Okay, so you can essentially buy that. Secondly, I can also put this thing to bed. Maybe Tony Stark had actually given a portion of his inheritance to
yes,
Spider-Man and not
yes,
Peter Parker. So maybe he got some money. But
Yeah.
majorly the movie did not address that at all, and I was slightly disappointed. I'm like,
Yeah, no,
थोड़ा तो address कर लेते.
I saw someone saying, how the hell is he affording like a Z Flip? Like he's walking around with this
yes.
insanely expensive phone everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, he's been at home for 4 years. They're at MIT, he does seemingly nothing else. How is he affording any of this?
Yeah, exactly.
I think again it is because MCU ka New York, everything is whacked at this point. Like, economics wise, everything is whacked. Like, real estate prices crazy down. Crazy
No.
down. Which again begs the question, agar real estate price crazy down hai, why is the Punisher living in a matlab, barge?
Dock. He lives in the docks, yeah.
Yeah, dogs or something.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah,
tell
but-
you something.
Yeah,
Yes.
but Jean Grey.
Yes.
Let's talk about Jean Grey.
Let's
And
talk
I think
about Jean Grey.
I'm gonna start because I have the least nice
Yes,
things
yes.
to say about it, and then you can build off that. I will say that I don't hate the inclusion in concept as regards to the character and the parallels they're trying to draw with Holland, with Peter Parker. I have two fundamental problems. Number one, you say her name and I groan. I like literally they said they're like Jean, I think Elaine or something. is her
Jean
middle
Elaine
name.
Grey, yes.
Elaine Grey, and they said it, and I just like sank into my seat because I was like, Spider-Man films to me, and again, I'm saying this with like less than zero memory of the other three films, minus a detail couple of here and there, so I could be entirely wrong. But I remember the Spider-Man films being the least tainted of the MCU universification. I think they left there was always inclusions, but they let a lot of it be, minus obviously
Hmm,
No Way
hmm,
Home.
hmm, 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 hmm.
Like at least the first two films, it was generally like a bit sacrosanct.
Yes.
Here, I'm like, and again, it's not about what the characterization of Jean Grey is or what is it related to other, etc., etc. It's just, oh, X-Men are here.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is about the inclusion of them in the next Avengers film. Like that's just the despondence and despair that's
I
set
think
into
that
me.
impression, I think rising of that impression cannot be a fault for anybody. Any viewer who
Yeah.
is going to feel that, you cannot like discount that at all, because again, this is the MCU, right? And
It's PTSD basically.
it's PTSD. Like at this point, it's like you have seen Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
You remember that scene where Raimi essentially makes fun of the MCU by
Yeah.
introducing a shit ton of characters and killing off all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So he
But,
makes fun. He makes fun
so-
of cameo porn, which is ironic because Avengers Doomsday is essentially going to be, look, there's this character.
Yes,
Look, do you
yes.
remember this character? Look, do you
No,
remember this
that's just
character?
a mela. That's not a film. Okay, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other thing. The runtime is going to get over before they introduce all of the characters in it. But
No,
the
but
second, the second reaction was, and I'll get to that later.
Mhm.
Go ahead. But the second reaction was just that I again, I think what they're doing with this character is interesting, but I think the cinematic structure is a bit off. So it literally feels like the film forgets about Tom Holland or for Peter Parker for 20 minutes when we go through her arc and then do all her backstory plus Tremel Tillman interaction plus everything, and then you remember, oh shit, this was a Spider-Man film, and you come back. And the comparison point for that, which my brother pointed out, is Multiverse of Madness, right? The advantage of Multiverse of Madness is it kind of made it very clear that this is a Doctor Strange film in name only and is more of a Wanda film from the very beginning. So your
Yeah.
expectations were kind of primed that this is what is going to happen. The problem with Brand New Day is for the first half, you get a Spider-Man film with like an interesting villain. And then, like halfway through, like into the second act, you get this whole Jean Grey arc, which again is completely forgets the rest of the plot, does its own thing, and then comes back. So then it feels like you're committing to neither bit. You're committing neither to it being a Spider-Man film, nor it being hijacked as a Jean Grey film. So it ends up being like there's no you get 75% of Spider-Man and you get 50% out of a possible 100 on either side. So
Yeah.
you are dissatisfied on both counts is kind of my problem with the Jean Grey arc to be. Yeah.
Again, I am nodding my head and I'm saying, because as much as I disagree with Chris's dislike of this movie, I can't disagree with what he's saying because he's saying correct. मैं क्या बोलूं इसमें? मैं क्या बोलूं इसको? Adityan, you say फिर मैं
Jean Grey again. Jean Grey. I didn't expect Jean Grey first. I literally said in the first itself, like I didn't have any expectations about this film. So I didn't really read any comic book theories or whatever, because I was that guy who used to read theories and all the stuff, but not anymore after the
MCU
multiverse saga.
PTSD.
After,
MCU
yeah, of
PTSD.
course,
We
of
all
course.
have that. Yes.
So yeah, I didn't read anything, but there was this talk of Sadie Singh coming into this. I was like, okay, maybe they are getting Gwen Stacy or something like that. I was speculating that, but it was kind of a nice surprise to see her in the role of handling the mantle of Jean Grey, a great character, of course, which was didn't have a really good farewell with when it was in the hands of Fox Corporation.
Are we talking about the masterpiece movie that is Dark Phoenix?
Yes. Which didn't have a good farewell like our Vijay had, of course. So yeah. So but it was, first of all, the Jean Grey telepathy idea was pretty much visually it was creative, it was design creative. So I like the idea of how it was like, it was something like a marriage between telepathy and also something
Matrix.
Possession, right?
Yeah, basically, Agent Smith essentially possessing all the people in the Matrix.
Matrix. I mean, of course, Destin Daniel Cretton has based last in his Shang-Chi film, Bill Pope as was the Matrix films, the Matrix
Mm-hmm.
trilogy's DOP was DOP of that film too. You have multiple references, visual references in that film too, with Matrix, Matrix Revolution, that
Reloaded.
reloaded
Mm-hmm.
that one sequence where both Neo and Agent Smith fights with the
Mm-hmm.
in the rain. So similarly, a sequence comes in there with the neon lights in that movie, in Shang-Chi. So similarly, there is a lot of Matrix, of course, but that telepathy idea was so great. I mean, it was impressive to see, and how it goes into the mind of Peter Parker. That was exciting to see visually, of course. That was exciting to see visually, of course. But as Chris pointed out, I had the same queries to the logic within the world it builds. For example, if Jean Grey is that powerful, she can go directly, right? Then why she has to telepathically go every time? So that question arises me when once the identity they showed up. So that question was that was little bit and of course the parallels they tried to make with Spider-Man character was it could have been fleshed even more well instead of just making a sort of fight scenes and your usual crossovers with the MCU of X-Men or something like that. So maybe they could have fleshed it out well, but I didn't have that was the major gripe I had with Jane Grey character. But Sadie Sink, of course, good performance. Looking forward to see what she has got on stage.
Yeah, it's like the dead part, or like the dead important person in life shorthand is kind of very surface level in
Yes.
order to carry all of these like
Yeah.
okay, Sadie Sink's character gets a sister, John Bernthal has his family, this one, it's kind of it feels a bit unrelated in the sense of it's like a writing shorthand instead of actually drawing parallels between their arcs proper. I felt like yeah.
Okay, I'm going to approach it in two ways. Okay. As a comic book fan, somebody who has read the comic books, my first question is why are you introducing Jean Grey and the Hulk in the roles which could be easily filled by Spider-Man villains?
Yeah.
Legitimate question.
Yes.
And this is a legitimate question that is raised by comic book people, and I can't disagree with them at all. The Hulk's character in this movie could easily be replaced by a character named Kurt Connors slash the Lizard, who is in Amazing Spider-Man 1. You can easily replace him with that. You will go through the same emotional arc easily. You can easily have a Punisher and Spider-Man fight the Lizard also, and it would be very much a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
You don't need the Hulk there at all. I'm not saying I don't mind. I'm not saying I don't like the Hulk's inclusion in this. I'm just saying from a comic book fan's perspective, you can easily do that. From a comic book fan's perspective, you can easily also replace a mind controlling villain with any normal telepathic character or anything else. What really stuck my craw in this movie is the fact that you are going through the covers. You are showing me Spider-Man fighting Boomerang, Spider-Man fighting Tarantula, Spider-Man fighting the Scorpion. At least the Scorpion has some scenes. Right. The rest of these characters don't even have scenes, and they are Spider-Man fighting Tombstone. And I'm like, see, these are major villains. And if you actually wanted a character who can essentially go through the minds and can like essentially bring out your negative part or bring out your villainous part, you have a character in the Insomniac games called Mr. Negative, who was introduced in the 2008 version of Brand New Day comic book, by the way. You can easily put Mr. Negative in this movie. Sure, the question then would have arisen that it has a very striking similarity to the Insomniac games, which is already the similarities are being produced or presented. The action scenes are heavily inspired from Insomniac games. Again, not a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that I can directly present to you two options where you don't have to introduce Marvel Universe characters as a modus operandi to, push forward your crossover agenda. You did not need to do that. You could have done that very easily, and it would have been a much more self-contained Spider-Man movie, a street-level Spider-Man movie that these MCU creators, especially Tom Holland, ostensibly wanted this movie to be.
Yeah.
Having said that, the second problem that comes here is the fact that Jean Grey, my thing which is one of the reason why I don't agree with most of the comic book fans' criticisms, is the fact that Jean Grey as a character is just introduced here. What also is not introduced essentially is the X-Men. They are not technically introduced in this movie. Neither is introduced the concept of mutation or mutants. Oh, that is hinted at, but it isn't introduced, it isn't expressly stated. It isn't expressly stated. My thing is, I understand the criticism. I understand all the problems that is going with it. I understand that when you're telling the name Jean Grey, when Zendaya tells the name Jean Grey, the camera literally stops there for 15 seconds to show the name, taki people would listen. Oh, Jean Grey, oh my god. Oh, Jean Grey. Oh. So it's like, I get the cynicism. I get what you're doing with this. I get the marketing cynicism. It sticks a complete bamboo up my craw at this point. But it's also like I also cannot help but admire the restraint here. At least considering the MCU, this is admirable form of restraint. कि
Sure.
आपने सिर्फ जीन ग्रे को इंट्रोड्यूस किया और जीन ग्रे का जो कैरेक्टर है दैट इज सो मतलब so much in the initial of the clay forming stage that even if she doesn't resemble the Jean Grey we know, you can easily put this easily put this out as she hasn't met any of the X-Men characters. She hasn't met Professor Charles Xavier. She hasn't met anybody. She is a character who is operating out of sheer trauma. Does that make all her decisions great? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I think there's also the fact that a lot of fans, especially film watchers who only watch superhero movies. Yes, I'm going to point that out also, that there are a lot of people who are bringing up this criticism are the people who only watch superhero movies. They have no other context for any other movie. I think they expect a sort of Puritan level of morality for each and every character at this point. कि अच्छा है तो अच्छा ही होना चाहिए, बुरा है तो बुरा ही होना चाहिए. There is no gray shades to anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and one of the bigger questions that most people in social media are pointing that out is, oh my god, look at Jean Grey. How could she let that poor old man die? Firstly, this is a movie. Unless you see a dead body, nobody is dead. Number one, unless you see a dead body, nobody is dead. Second of all, Spider-Man can't save that old man क्योंकि movie में already बताया गया है कि Spider-Man का spider sense was not working. He wasn't able to sense Jean Grey or anybody else, so he can't save anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that I want to point out the details. I'm just saying that people, especially superhero fans, have a weirdly warped sense of like everything needs to be pure, everything needs to be separated into set of boxes. And when creatives want something different, like character exploration into movies that are so much IP generated, or there is always this push and pull between the fans when characters that they think in their head operate outside the boundaries of their own definition. That's a major problem. It's a problem that has been there since 2017 for Star Wars The Last Jedi से शुरू हुआ है ये problem. Seriously. That is how long this issue has been going on. And it has only compounded at this point. And it frustrates me to a certain degree because, again, like Cris said, some of the criticism regarding Jean Grey's character is absolutely valid. Absolutely. Like, you don't need that character. You could have put another character in this movie and this movie would have been perfectly fine. This movie would have been a closely contested, close contained Spider-Man movie. Completely get it. But the criticism that this Jean Grey character doesn't resemble the Jean Grey we know, yes, no shit, Sherlock. It's not supposed to resemble. This is a new character. This is a new version of Jean Grey that we are supposed to understand. What I also felt was really good, and what I also felt made me actually appreciate the Jean Grey character slightly more is the fact that Sadie Singh's performance is really, really good. I felt that she is really good in this movie. Do I think that the ending of it, Peter Parker's character slowly and apologizing and slowly and steadily starting to understand her point of view, do I think that is slightly rushed? Yes. I genuinely think that is slightly rushed. It is rushed. It is rushed. It is rushed. It is quite rushed. like after she's imprisoned, after she's imprisoned, and then his conversation with Zendaya is enough for him to change his mind without any hint of like a hesitation or something. Is feels very like, we have to wrap this up, let's
Yeah,
get to
I
the
think that's
emotional
one of the
thing.
big conflicts of the film, that it's the plotting versus the emotional
Yeah,
beats.
yeah.
Because
Hmm.
I think some of the plotting is really shoddy. Like, I think
Hmm, hmm,
the Bruce Banner inclusion, as long as he is Bruce Banner, like I think the scene where Peter meets Bruce at the university is perfectly fine.
hmm, hmm,
But
hmm.
once it's at the damage control thing and you get this like, oh, he says Bruce and he comes to, and all that stuff is really like established poorly, like the
Yeah, yeah,
emotional,
yeah.
like the plot wise. But the emotional beats really hit, like when the VMAX reveal happens. I
Yes.
was properly shocked. Like that was the one time
That was
where
a
I
good
was
time.
like,
That was a good way. Like, if you remember, because that's what I meant, that this director knows how to shoot like emotionally impactful scenes. The choice to put the camera directly above, like through her eye line, to understand the revelation of what VMAX actually is, then to tell us that no, it's not a revelation because it's absolutely nothing. What is important is she was in this room and she had seen that, and that was the last shot in her head.
yeah,
Like, that is an emotional shorthand which delivers a massive impact. Those are the types of
absolutely.
those are the types of things that really work in this movie,
Like
which is
I can literally list you on like the like the moments there is. There's the rooftop interaction between Z and Tom
yes.
Holland,
Hmm.
where you have the Jean Grey
The
essentially
false start.
possess.
The false start. Yes.
I think that's a one like you expected part of you, but when it actually hits, I think Z's performance is also really great there.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You feel that betrayal that Peter felt.
Hmm.
There's the there's obviously the letter conversation when the
I'll tell
Zendaya's
you,
character
I'll
ends up
tell you,
reading.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you, here is where these are the scenes where I think, and I'm not speaking for anybody, any of the writers
yeah.
here, but I think Justin Kuritzkis' like contribution, I think, definitely shines
Oh
here.
wait, Justin Kuritzkes co-wrote this film.
He was brought in to touch up the screenplay.
Yeah,
He
that
was
makes a
brought,
lot of sense now.
yeah.
I'm a huge Justin
Justin
Kuritzkes
Kuritzkis,
fan.
for people who have no idea, co-wrote Challengers. He also wrote Queer.
Yes.
Yes.
He
Yes. Yes.
co-wrote Queer,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
some of the emotional like nuances, and I am like, yeah, this is not exactly MCU shit.
Yes.
There is a bit of a nuance here, and I'm like, yeah, I think Kuritzkis was brought in specifically for those moments, because like there is a scene where Tom Holland's character, like the part of the emotional, like the revelation, what that basically is, for the description, so that we can move forward quicker.
Yeah.
Uh, Peter Parker believes that Zendaya's character actually remembers him after the events of No Way Home, and they share a kiss, only for him to be completely blindsided when Zendaya's
Yes.
character reveals that no, she is actually possessed by Jean Grey's character still now, and Jean Grey is essentially playing a game of emotional manipulation with him to
Yeah.
essentially show that she can mess him up if she wants to. She is not messing him up because she has a mission and she does not want him in its way. That scene itself, the fact that he kissed her, that is wonderfully addressed later on in another scene where he
Yeah.
tells Zendaya's character,
Apologizes.
yeah, beautiful scene where he tells
Yeah. Yeah.
Zendaya's character that I had kissed you and that was not appropriate because you don't remember, and I'm sorry about that.
Such a bad it was, right?
It's a very good scene, and it also reminds you, especially because, again, this is very important to understand. The main difference between Spider-Man and Batman movies essentially is Spider-Man movies are also seen by kids.
Yeah.
When kids see these scenes are necessary for kids to understand some basic life lessons जो इंडिया में
Yes.
एटलीस्ट नहीं है. इसलिए at some point of time, whenever
Um,
these type of scenes exist, I'm like, see, a writer actually thought of that. A writer actually thought to
yes.
address that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Well
these
said.
are scenes that really work, which is one of the reasons why I can't, like, even if there are some major glaring flaws within this movie, I can't actually dislike this movie at all, because these
Yes.
scenes really make this movie sing.
Yeah, and
So
you're talking also about that MCU texture. I think for me, the moment I really felt that restraint that also talking about with Destin and Cretton is that final conversation between Punisher and
yeah,
Spider-Man, where he actually apologizes. In any other MCU film, that would be like 4 quips and it's moved on and it's okay, it's
no
okay. But
quips,
No
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 quips
quips.
in this movie.
No
And they
quips.
and
Yes.
even with for the banter, the cry, they wait. He's like, no, it's not okay. I want to apologize, and then they can restore back to their kind of joking. I think that is a great. To me, that was one of those few moments where I was like, okay, yeah, this is not pure MCU slop, and there is a moment where I can actually appreciate the kind of Spider-Man emotionality that I expected. Just normal, like being able to
Normal
sit with
human
an
human interaction,
emotions,
normal
Of
human
yeah,
course.
interaction.
without
Yeah.
always being one joke after another that is being like slung at you. I think that's a wonderful moment of that, that
Hmm.
restraint that Cretton shows. Yeah.
The second thing I would like to get into regarding this movie is the Zendaya, Ned, and Peter equation, and through that, the equation Peter Parker has with New York as a character, because I think that is a major part of this movie. The city itself feels like a character in this movie. I think the Zendaya and Ned equation, I think it's mainly the Zendaya and Zendaya's MJ and Peter equation, because I think Ned is slightly shafted in this movie because I think he doesn't have that much too many scenes in this movie at all.
No, not much.
Yeah, not much. I think again, Jacob Batalon as a comic presence is not bad. Like he is quite funny in No Way Home, to be very honest. Like he has some of the funniest scenes in the movie. But I also think that the choice to actually put him in the backside is also felt very intentional. Like there is a genuine like intention to make this movie tad bit more serious than the usual MCU fare. I think so, at least. Which is why I think yearning is an emotion that you don't experience from comic book superheroes. Okay, yearning. It's always, oh my god, I have trauma, or oh my god, my father has oh my god, my uncle has died. Now I'm going to be sad. So it's almost like that. Other than that, there पर कुछ है नहीं. The closest thing to yearning that we remember in a superhero movie is Star-Lord Chris Pratt ka Star-Lord yearning for Gamora, and I hate that. So it's like F all that shit. Guardians of the Galaxy can literally F off at this point. I like the third movie, but those movies can literally F off. But
Please, sir.
the point being that these are the movies where some of these scenes really feels like uniquely something that should be there in the previous movies, but they are not. Like I was conversing ki, there is a difference between cameo porn and city or a universe within a superhero universe that actually feels like a breathing thing, because Marvel Comics in and of itself feels very grounded in reality, because unlike DC Comics has fictional cities. Like DC Comics has Gotham, Metropolis, and all these cities. These are fictional cities, right? Marvel Comics are always cities that are actually real, like Seattle, New York. Most of the superheroes live in New York. Most of the superheroes live in areas of New York. Peter Parker lives in Queens. Daredevil lives in Hell's Kitchen. Moon Knight now lives in the Bowery. So these are people that actually live in the areas and places of New York. And the interesting fact is, because these people are all based out of New York, comics always, it is not at all surprising that a superhero would suddenly come across another superhero and just start chatting.
Yeah.
Literally, because they live in that city and it is perfectly normal for them. It is also perfectly normal for these characters and for the city people itself to have an opinion on these superheroes, which is again another on the ground perspective that you don't usually see. Homecoming had bits of it. I think here that is much more available or present, at least. So which brings me to there is a character in this movie called John DeWolf. John DeWolf played by Lisa Colon Zayas, who could be called as Spider-Man's James Gordon at this point. If Spider-Man is
I wanted
Batman,
to see.
yeah. I felt that she was not bad. I think she was really nice.
I mean, she her character. I mean, her character. Her character felt like a part of the city actually.
Yes.
So I could feel the presence of the city and connection of city with Spider-Man a lot.
Yeah, she's
And they
standing on the
kind of
train. She's standing on the train talking on the phone.
and
Yeah.
she also questions himself. Like, are you real? You ask me about you don't ask me a single question about me. So how
Yeah.
do I know about you? So that makes it concerned of how he is more into himself and not others, despite being the savior of the city. So
Yeah.
that interesting character aspect to be studied was pretty interesting for me.
You know what she
I
also reminded me of? She also reminded me of, because this is so much inspired by the Insomniac Spider-Man. She reminded me of Yuri in the
Yuri
Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yuri.
Yeah, that another police officer who is also
Mm.
Spider-Man's friend.
Yeah,
Like,
Spider. Yeah, of course, yeah. And
he-
I thought with her son character they're going to introduce. I mean, Miles Morales. I
hmm.
genuinely thought, but they didn't. So they
No,
didn't. So
no,
I thought.
but naming her John D. Wolf is actually very interesting. मैं बाद में बताता हूँ. But again,
Uh,
Chris,
uh,
what did you
Yeah,
feel
so
about her character?
her
no, I think
character and of course
yeah, and
Mm,
I'll also
yeah,
sorry, then go ahead.
yeah, her character was good, and of course Punisher and Spider-Man dynamics. You have your own new Budapest running gag
Yes,
like
Staten
similar
Island.
Staten
Something
Island,
happened in Staten Island. We have no idea what happened, but clearly that is there. Yeah.
Staten Island running gag similar to Black Widow and Hawkeye.
The
Budapest
Budapest running gag. Yeah, yeah,
running
yeah.
gag. So so you have a sense of there's a dry humor down there, and of course that humor is not annoying per se. So so there is a connect. There is as you said, there is the city and Spider-Man's connection was lived
Yes.
in this film.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the character work thing, right? Like again,
Hmm.
the for me, like most of the action scenes didn't really work. I think there's like one memorable shot from an
Hmm.
action scene, which is in the final sequence where he's fighting the Hand, I think they're called.
Yes, the hand.
There's a shot where he
Hmm.
flips around and the whole camera turns upside down when
Hmm.
he is on the roof of like one of the floors. I thought that was like an interesting shot. Apart from, but it's the character moments that really work. Like even with Ned, you said even though he gets shafted a bit, I think that final scene
Yeah, the final
of
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
of the handshake between I think that's enough.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
enough.
such a that's
Do.
such a good piece of
Yes.
like using your writing shorthand or however you want to call it, but it's a good piece of visual storytelling that covers up for whatever you have been trying to what like so much writing is condensed really beautifully in that one moment that you even if you don't give Ned much to do, that moment alone counts to characterize both of them quite well.
Yeah.
I think similarly with Wolf, I think she's a great intro to Parker's isolation. I think
Yes.
because the whole first half of the film is so reliant on the fact that he's become this secluded, like paranoid, basically individual after what happened at the end of Far From Home and No Way Home, that her prodding at him, her constantly telling him to take rest. Again, there's the whole parallel that Spider-Man 2 track going on of
Rest.
him, his whole mutation
Taking
thing
rest.
and all. But or obviously the relation between stress and trauma and his physical reactions and all of that. I don't think that's done. There's not enough proper emphasis on it in the writing, but I think her interjections in it constantly become a really good piece of just again character dynamics and also which really fleshes out Peter's character quite well. And yeah, it definitely. I mean, with Spider-Man itself, the city is so important because obviously the web slinging happens off of skyscrapers, right? It's the kind of the city is very much a
The
part
city
of
is
his
very much a part.
exercising.
It's
Yes.
literally the support structure.
Suppose like he cannot do anything without the buildings as part of his
There is a
movement
running
itself,
gag.
right?
There is a running gag in the comics that Spider-Man hates New Jersey because there are no buildings in New Jersey,
It's
so he
it's
can't swing. Yeah,
suburban.
so he can't swing. He has to go via train. He has to sit on top of a train and he has to go. That's a running
Exactly
gag
right.
always.
So New York, I don't think they do a lot to characterize the place itself, but you get that feeling or you get that
Yes.
corner shop where he goes all the time to buy flowers for
Flowers.
me,
Hmm.
or the kind of the kind of nook in which his apartment is,
Yeah.
or the apartment that even Ned and Zendaya's characters share. I think there is definitely a character to the whole thing, and again with the John
Bards.
Bernthal. Yeah, so with the John Bernthal
Or
character, I
even
think
the Turkish bath
the
Ah.
baths, correct, where he meets the
Yelena Belova.
Yelena.
Belova Fiore.
Yelena's character.
Weird scene. Weird scene. I have no idea why.
Weirdly sexual for a PG or like a all ages film, to be
Yeah.
very honest.
Yeah, of course.
Weird
But,
scene. It makes you understand that Spider-Man, it's like that dilemma, right? That Peter Parker doesn't have a life. Spider-Man has a very colorful life. So Spider-Man's colorful life is very much depicted here because it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, and in the film there's a good dichotomy between the mask on and the mask off
Yes.
moments, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the whole film's gimmick is keeping the mask on.
Mm.
I think especially because the whole big dilemma of the film is the Peter versus
Peter versus
Spidey, and the
Spider-Man.
Peter and the Spidey,
and
obviously the big
Spidey.
moment
Yes.
at the end. But I think that is also kind of a problem for me, that with how the film is structured, I don't really care for Spider-Man. In that I get his, but like the moments I enjoy are the moments the mask comes off. Like one of my favorite scenes is when Zendaya and Tom Holland are talking through a curtain.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're kind of talking about
Destin
how
Daniel
their
went
personal
Maniratnam with this.
Or
Destin Daniel definitely went
you
Maniratnam
can
with
make,
this one. I
make
mean,
the Odyssey
that was so.
comparison.
Also Odyssey. Somebody put the Odyssey
I
here.
mean, Odyssey. When I was watching Odyssey, I watched 2 times, of course. And when I was watching Odyssey with all the whale shots, I was thinking of Maniratnam a lot. But the lighting, everything, and with this movie, the whale. So it's like he's revealed outside the mask, but still he has something inside that.
Something.
So
Absolutely.
similarly with Zendaya character MJ too. So that metaphor as a whale. Something that was like I was watching with a lot of my colleagues. So one of my closest colleagues, I was talking, hey, Destin Daniel went Maniratnam.
No, but I think that scene also does something very interesting, because towards the end of the scene, when MJ comes on the other side of the curtain, he puts the mask on. But like the moment he puts the mask on, he goes back to being quippy.
Yes.
Or being the more comedic or lighthearted.
But that is like the core thing of Spider-Man anyway. Like
No, definitely. No, I think but I'm saying that's a really good piece of writing.
It's a defense
work.
mechanism also. It's a defense mechanism.
But the thing is, I don't feel invested in the Spidey character at all, which again goes into my problem with the John Bernthal character. Again, I've not seen any of the Punisher, so no context.
I have issue with the John Bernthal performance in this movie itself, but that is also I can understand why the issue is coming from it, because the Punisher show is R-rated to the max. Okay, it is R-rated to the hilt. It is not comedic at all. The first season is especially showing like Frank Castle's family brutally gunned down. There is a conspiracy theory regarding his unit in the Afghan war, or I think it was the Iraq war, and that it's excellently. It's very much R-rated. It's very much dealing with PTSD. It's very much dealing with the horrors of war and what he's going through. And Punisher season 2 is also, because the Punisher as a character. Firstly, the Punisher as a character existing in Marvel Comics is in itself an oxymoron. I don't know how he exists, but he exists in Marvel Comics. Okay. He exists in Marvel Comics. He's a character who essentially his wife and kids die due to the mafia being gunned down. And so he has a psychotic break and he decides that he's going to kill every bad guy he comes across. That is his only motive. There is nothing else. That character has no other emotional core in his body. Good writers of Punisher, and by that I only mean Garth Ennis knows that. And Garth Ennis knows कि और flesh out करने का जरूरत नहीं है. You just need to show him being an absolute force of nature.
So depressed and trigger happy, basically.
Depressed तो है ही नहीं, trigger happy. Okay. He's not depressed, he's trigger happy. He's trigger happy and he's like a full blown like slab. He's massive. He's like a slab. He's like a slab of basic, like completely out of emotion. Kuch emotion hai nahi. He's just going to kill you.
There's this also one particular scene where Spider-Man himself asks, "Hey, dude, what he says? Do we have this? Do we have these components? I don't think you have those. Well, I have."
Hmm. Yeah.
So that
And
itself says
for
a lot
what
about
reason?
it.
And it's like bomb making,
Bombs,
obviously.
for
Yeah,
bombs.
bombs. I think there is a thing in Marvel comics or Marvel universe itself is when you're putting such a hard-edged character like the Punisher and you're making him interact with characters like Spider-Man or other comic book characters, you need to put him down. At least you need to put his intensity down a slight peg. Or even if you're going to put his intensity, you are going to have to match that intensity with another character of that same intensity.
Like, how do you put him in a children's film, basically?
Yeah, you
is
need
your
a character
dilemma.
like you need a character like Daredevil to actually match his
Yeah,
intensity, which
yeah.
is the reason
Yeah.
why he was introduced in the
Yes, in
Daredevil
Daredevil,
TV show of the
second season.
Netflix version. You
Yeah.
need that guy
Yeah.
because otherwise you cannot match that intensity. So the Punisher being introduced here is in itself a very weird thing for me only. Like
Yeah.
पहली बात तो बंदूकें चलाता है. How the hell is he going up against the Hulk? I'm like क्या करेगा वो? गोली मारेगा क्या? He literally does that. He
Yeah,
shoots. He
yes.
literally does that. So I'm
The
like,
most American thing. in the
yeah, the
film.
most
Yeah.
American thing ever. Yes. And then comes the banter and everything. And again, I think it is because of Bonthal that I can buy what this version of
Yes.
the Punisher is in the movies.
Sure.
This is not the Punisher. I'm sorry. This is not what the Punisher actually is. Okay.
Hmm.
But then there is also the fact that comic books exist due to the cyclical nature of publication.
Hmm.
स्पाइडरमैन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जितना भी ग्रो अप करेगा एडिटर्स को हमेशा लगता है कि उसको वापस करके 20 साल का बंदा ही बनाना है, अदरवाइज किसी को कोई रिलेटेबिलिटी नहीं होगा. सिमिलरली पनिशर ऑलवेज needs to be this guy for the fans of the Punisher who are trigger happy, gun happy people,
So
or
he's
whatever the
basically
flying
John Abraham.
He's basically John Abraham. Huh?
Yeah.
So he's basically John Abraham. He's basically John Abraham in Rocky Handsome.
Yes, that's also
He's
is
that
another
only.
movie where John Abraham is literally killing machine in one movie, another that cyborg movie.
Arey, attack.
Attack.
Yeah. Not a bad movie. Not a bad
Yeah.
movie.
No, not a bad one. Not a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty watchable only. But the thing about that is, Punisher as a character in the comics cannot move beyond a point unless you're Garth Ennis and you're. But if you are Garth Ennis, you have to write this story beyond the Marvel universe. My point being, if you're John Bernthal and if you are a guy, you are an actor, you are making a character go through a character arc. After a certain point, you need to evolve the character.
Yeah.
This is his way of evolving the character in a way. A Marvel Universe special presentation came out on May called Punisher One Last Kill, which is a 45-minute short film of the Punisher, which is also essentially like an introduction to all the other people who haven't seen the Punisher show कि देखो ये Punisher है. ठीक है?
Okay.
So it
Short
is like
introduction.
Crash course, basically.
Crash course.
it like basically reiterates all the thing that Punisher season 1 does. My only problem with that presentation and this movie is that in that presentation, I think the Punisher kills at least 50 people.
It's
I
bloody.
think so.
It's
Yeah,
bloody.
I think
I mean,
50 or
haven't
more. I
watched
think
it.
70 people. He basically kills an entire apartment building. And I'm like,
Yeah.
इस आदमी को इस मूवी में क्या कर रहे हो तुम?
No, I think that's the compromise, right? You get
Yes.
him to shoot at the Hulk, who's basically like being hit with like cotton balls.
Yes.
And you don't have to see any of the blood and guts, and even when you get the big shot at the end of the film, you don't even see you barely see any
You know
blood.
you know what this reminded me of? In the 90s,
Yeah.
जब Spider-Man का cartoon आता था, ठीक है, Spider-Man का cartoon was a kids cartoon. One of the rules of the kids cartoon is you cannot show guns and you cannot show blood. So what was
Yeah.
the compromise? All the gangsters and all the villains had laser guns.
Laser guns. Yeah.
This is
That's
kind of
Spider-Man,
like that only.
the 90s, right? That's
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That one, right?
This is kind of like that only. Punisher को हम ला रहे हैं, so make the Punisher more like googly foogly, make him more like an elder brother
Yeah.
dynamic, make him more
Yeah,
like
he's kind of like the straight man, but like quip.
he's like
I think-
Captain Haddock in Tintin.
Yeah,
Yes,
basically. That's a great
Let me tell you
comparison.
something.
Yes, he's
I've got blue blistering barnacles.
blue blistering bunny. He's Captain
Yeah.
Haddock.
Yes,
Spider-Man
of
is Tintin. He's Captain
Tintin.
Haddock. That's
Yeah,
literally
but that's
Tom
the
Holland
really-
looks like Tintin.
yes.
That's the interesting dissonance also in the film, right? Because he's his aesthetics are of this all black,
Yeah.
massive gun, sniper, viper, trigger happy kind of a thing. And it's the equivalent of, I think it's in the Guardians of the Galaxy film, like where there's a big moment where they're gonna fire a gun and like bubbles come
Yes,
out
yes,
of
I
it.
mean, even in
yeah.
that, even in the Hulk confrontations, Hulk fight scene, the bullet, the kind of bullets he used is pretty much something which was it was like a like
Laser gun or sonic
gun,
sonic bullets or
sonic
something.
boom, something like that. It wasn't
Even
like
the grenades didn't look
it
like, they
wasn't
were all
like,
comic grenades.
They were
kind
all
of.
comic book grenades.
Yeah.
They were not realistic grenades, because अगर realistic grenades हो जाता
Yeah.
तब तो गया
that
खत्म.
it was a machine gun which Punisher uses. So that itself was pretty much comical to me. And I mean, Chris was making a point, and he didn't find anything memorable, but I found every action sequence memorable in this.
I also found the action sequence quite memorable.
With that one particular frame where Spider-Man, Punisher, and Hulk, everyone in that one.
One frame, yeah, one corridor shot.
That was so from a window perspective.
Yeah.
It was so brilliant. It was so brilliant. Something that slow motion mode in Insomniac Spider-Man games, of course.
It's very funny also, that action sequence, because Spider-Man is literally dragging him back, and ये आदमी को फिर भी गोली चलाना ही है.
Yeah.
He's like shooting.
I only got that, man. So that was something so Insomniac Spider-Man games. That slow motion mode, every time you hit someone, when you put the X button, I don't remember the exact mode. So someone please comment it. So yeah.
I think the Punisher ka dissonance that we are facing is because I think it is very natural only that we are going to face this dissonance, because at the end of the day, Punisher at the end of the day आदमी है ना, human तो है, psychotic break हो के या ना हो, अगर उसका character को evolution आएगा, so if his character is going to undergo an evolution anyway, he is not going to, after a certain point, he's not going to resemble the Punisher we know. That is how literally how film writing works. That is how character writing works. He is not going to resemble. So I understand the dissonance. I don't like the dissonance also. I think the only reason why I like his presence is because of Bernthal. Because Bernthal knows exactly what he's doing. He knows absolutely the role he's playing.
Yeah, and
Let me tell
again,
you something.
the Bernthal, the moment works like, again, what I say the film is memorable is those character moments. It's like when Zendaya tells Bernthal to go after Peter. It's like a 10-second scene where she says, "Aren't you going along?" But there again with the stoic Bernthal character, but still how much he cares for Peter, and then him going around the periphery and all of that. I think those whatever dissonance is there, there's those moments where the writing just strikes. And I think that's what I keep coming back to, that what I appreciate about the film are those moments. The rest of it, I was definitely checking my watch and being like,
I also think
there was this one memorable line in that sequence Chris mentioned. If the people whom I loved were breathing, then why would I be hiding behind a mask?
The only problem is Punisher को इतना self awareness है नहीं.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a big problem here. वो dissonance 100%.
John Abraham से emotional scene करने को नहीं बोलते हो.
इसलिए ये John better है वो John से. This John is far better. But I think the plotting part you're talking about, na, Chris, there I agree with you. This movie doesn't have, like, making the big organization as the villain is a big of a problem. Like,
I think Tremel Tillman's writing is the big problem.
I think it's also because it's Tremel Tillman when he entered. I'm like, ये तो villain है.
I mean, severance effect, I guess. Whenever he comes in the scene, when the scene he came, me and my friend were like, okay, he's gonna be the main villain. So they are gonna reveal that. The only
time his entry didn't make me strike as a villain is Cris ka favorite hero ka movie, Mission Impossible.
Which if the audience
is aware, I have to tell you
this. My favorite thing from that entire film is the official Mission Impossible Twitter account posted a photo of Tremel Tillman with the caption and of Tom Cruise. His rules. They shortly after deleted that tweet.
Okay, I got that reference. I mean, that's the best part. That's the best part of the movie. That's the famous, my favorite part of the movie too.
Oh
Oh, it is.
God.
Okay,
And
Katie
you
O'Brien
must
and
be
Trevor
out of
Tillman.
your mind.
Tremel Tillman, I think
Best
Tremel
performance.
Tillman, I think again, I think this is my fault also. When I read in Wikipedia before I was watching the movie, I read in Wikipedia that his character's name is William Metzger. It did not strike me that William Metzger is an X-Men character who is an anti-mutant character. It should have been in my brain because that's exactly what he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
William Metzger is an anti-mutant senator or something who passes an
Ah.
anti-mutant bill in the 90s or something of that sort. So I'm like, this should have been in my brain, but it wasn't. Okay, fine. So I think that entire section of putting the DODC, like Department of Damage Control, as making them essentially like, listen, making them the de facto replacement of Shield is something that has been happening in all the movies since Phase 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
फेज
yeah.
4 से लेके टीवी शोज तक भी था वंडर मैन में
So-
भी डैमेज कंट्रोल है
So basically, don't they
TVA.
turn Tremel Tillman into Amanda Waller, basically?
या
Yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
but it's almost like yeah he is I think he is
Careful.
essentially telling you what the MCU world's newest obsession will be at this point. Okay, special people are rising up and mutation will be happening through that. Again MCU के तरफ से restraint उससे ज्यादा नहीं गए ये लोग.
X-Men.
at least
They couldn't help themselves, but they
Yeah.
didn't go too far. is
they didn't
basically
go
the-
too far. They weren't like there is this school in Westchester where there is a guy in a
Yeah.
wheelchair who is training these people. ये सब कुछ नहीं था.
Amartya, exactly. I was also thinking when after that scene where Jean Grey is displaced to the last climax where she
Yeah.
goes to the. I was thinking that okay, they are going to introduce.
Yeah, exactly.
Charles Xavier and
Yeah,
the
he's
special
waiting
school of-
for her. He's waiting for
Yeah,
her.
I was waiting for like
I
a
was
shot
wait-
of like the bus entering
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
school and you
Yeah,
see the
yeah,
board
yeah.
outside.
I was waiting for that moment,
Yeah,
but no, they didn't do. Fine, that
and
was
they didn't
good.
do. I'm like,
that was good
I'm
move.
like, well done. I'm like, well
Good
done.
move.
Restraint.
Good move. Good move.
I'm proud of you, Kevin Feige. You shouldn't have put Jean Grey in the movie, but can't help yourself
Yeah.
at this point.
Can't
क्या
help
कर सकते?
yourself. Yeah.
You know what didn't work at least didn't work matlab it should have been a much more important thing rather than
Yeah.
making that thing into a MacGuffin itself is the Peter undergoing the transformation due to the trauma. I think it should have been a bigger thing.
Absolutely.
It is anyway a big thing in the first half. Before I agree with you, Jean Grey's story hijacks the entire thing in the second half. But I think that was a very important part of both the lore of Peter Parker as well as exploring what happens post puberty, like puberty में क्या होता है.
Yeah.
If you are going through the coming of age arc of Peter Parker, this is essentially the young adulthood
Yeah.
growing out of teenagedom and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And it helps that if they had focused more on the what the physical changes he's undergoing. I'm not saying go full body horror. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that
Yeah.
you should have focused more on this rather than making another inhibitor chip that essentially makes the arachnid DNA and this DNA. I'm like, bhai,
Yeah.
अगर इतना ही simple है, and then I suddenly remember, oh, ये तो MCU है. अच्छा ठीक है.
Yeah, I think the problem is they don't spend long enough to establish it in the first place. They just have
Yes, yeah.
the one sequence, the two sequences. One is when he gets taken over by the first time and he hurts a corpse in the car, and the second is when he wakes up
Yeah.
tied up to the roof. I think they just give it two scenes.
They give
And
it two
that
scenes
re-
and then वो terrace में his senses go haywire and he's like फिर organic webbing निकलता है. Yeah,
Spider-Man,
that's it.
Sam
Yeah,
Raimi.
that's
Yeah.
again. Those are the visual manifestations of it, but they are not really sitting down with the
That is
concept
one of the
what is
difference
happening
between this
the-
and Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 in Spider-Man 2 that was a big thing.
Yeah.
That was a major thing, the fact that he's losing his powers because he essentially was going through what I like to call a superhero block in a way. It's like his mind is trying to process the shock and everything and all that. यहाँ पे वो सब कुछ है नहीं. When contrary to that, in a world, in this Marvel universe where there is a gun-toting vigilante roaming around. There is a green monster with an inhibitor chip who is teaching in NYU, and then यहाँ पे ninjas are working as private guards for the Department of Damage Control, और एक mind control lady is basically pushing old men on the street and letting them die. The old man didn't die. I'm just saying. But point being that इतना सब कुछ हो रहा है, if this kid undergoes a traumatic response that puts him out of commission for weeks,
It should
that
make no
is not
difference.
illogical. That could have
Yeah.
been an interesting thing that should have been explored, rather than transforming it into a MacGuffin कि एक इनिबिटर चिप है जो हल्क को बेसिकली कूल डाउन कर
Yeah.
सकता है.
No, I think that's the interesting thing, right? Like what you're pointing out makes it more sense. It kind of made the whole arc feel like it was in service of the plot,
In service of the
instead
plot.
of being the kind of emotional which is again the only thing that makes it again work for me is the final scene with May. I
Yes.
think I think for me, and one of the reasons why I'm quite fond of the X-Men is that the X-Men have often been an allegory for marginalized people,
Yes,
racism,
fully.
queer, LGBT people, all of those kinds of disabled people, etc., etc. Those who are othered, and I think that moment with Sadie Singh's character, which Jean Grey and Peter, the whole, like I said at the beginning, the whole you are loved not just because you are special, but because you are you, and it's more important for you
And
to
it's more
that.
important, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of arc where that worked for me even more than the moment where he goes, I am both. Like that's supposed to be the big, like, Siti bajao, like whistle bajane
Mass
wala
moment.
Yes.
mass moment where he holds him, he like throws him off, but holds him back, kind of the thing from the knife, that whatever.
Yeah,
But the
shuriken.
point is, yeah, that thing. But the point is that it's that moment where you get a final emotional conclusion to that arc, even if the arc didn't work out. Like you got the beginning and you got the end, but not much in the middle. I think the end is so strong in its character writing moment that you're willing to kind of forgive a lot of the flaws.
You're
in the
also
middle.
willing to forgive if the final sequence is essentially taking place in a green screen filled room जहाँ पे चारों तरफ reflection है. And I'm like,
Huh?
yeah, it feels like that, na? It feels like it's shot on green screen. Everywhere
Yeah,
there is
it's shot in
reflection.
like a Severance basement.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
basically like a Severance ka office space, kind of like a thingy. That's exactly what it feels like. But and also the mindscape is essentially like one single room in an office space.
his
But
bedroom, yeah, kind of a.
yeah, bedroom kind of a thing. Though I really appreciate the one thing is that which the Homecoming trilogy did not tell us, ki when Peter Parker actually became Spider-Man and when May learned of it, कि उसके बीच में May
Yeah.
learned of the identity of Peter Parker as Spider-Man, I think, before Far From Home and during the end of Homecoming. So
Yeah.
उसके बीच में there should have been a pivotal conversation and we did not see that. I think this movie retroactively fixes that. Ki we saw a snippet of that conversation in and of itself,
Yeah.
which actually makes those previous three movies at least much more emotionally coherent.
Yeah, it's the mirror scene or the other side of the great power, great responsibility scene.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If
yeah.
you get those are the two halves. One is in the before and one is in the
One
after.
is in the
kind
after.
of.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
Again, the character writing work is one of the reason why this movie actually excels quite a bit. I think, unlike Chris, I think I enjoyed the superhero action scenes quite a
Yes.
bit more. I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like the swinging scenes definitely
Swinging,
are a
yeah.
massive improvement. Like at the very least, like he's doing some backflips and some shit, and I'm like, yeah, this is Spider-Man. Let him do all this crazy stuff. मतलब क्या कर रहा होगा ये crazy stuff नहीं कर रहा है.
Yeah.
That's one, and the other part is some of the action sequences. Yeah, they resemble the Insomniac Spider-Man games. They resemble that tank flipping into damage control ka building. Very much resembles Dark Knight ka truck flipping. So
Yeah.
it's like you get all that stuff, but again, it's enjoyable. It's very much watchable. Like MCU ka slop machine after a point is like कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Like half of the things happening are in green screen only. Like so.
Yeah.
थोड़ा सा location shoot and all that. I know that this movie is not shot in New York. It's shot in Glasgow, which
Yeah.
which essentially replicating New York. But
Yeah.
location shooting का बात थोड़ा तो अलग है ही at the end of the day. You know, there is again tactility is very important. You are already using a lot of visual effects. If there is no reality to ground yourself into this, ground the viewers into the movie, कोई फायदा नहीं है after the end of the day.
Yeah.
that I think that's applicable. That's applicable even for the film in general. And I think Holland's performance is genuinely holding the movie together. He is, I think, this is his best as Peter Parker. I think in
Probably.
No Way Home, he was very good in the second half, but this I think is his best work.
Yeah.
Easily, I think
I was-
there are some sequences like you remember that scene, right, in which Zendaya's and like Sadie's like Jean Grey as MJ is
Process,
saying
Yeah.
and he's almost close to crying, but he's like ensuring
Betrayed.
maintaining himself. His
Yeah.
like his arachnid hormone is overpowering himself and he's just
Yeah.
stopping himself, and you can feel that in his expression. That like those are some of the moments which won't work if this movie doesn't give itself the space to be a much more serious fare than
Yeah.
usual MCU.
I think it's the one of the few times that Holland has gotten the proper like free reign to exercise his acting chops, which I think is what makes it work also. Like he gets a good emotion, he gets a good breadth of emotions. Like he's not, you don't send him into the pure traumatized thing, nor do you send him into a kind of pure quippy thing. You get a good balance of a lot of his emotionality, which I think again, especially because he was one of my least favorite parts of the Odyssey. Second only to Anne Hathaway, which is a disagreement I have with a lot of people. But I think there he's not given the right material to work with, so he is rather bland. But I think he understands this character really well, and for the first time he gets to play grown up, right? Like he's a
Yes.
30-year-old man now who is still pretending to be like 22.
At least now he is a 30-year-old man pretending that he's a 26 to 28-year-old man. So that is far
No,
better.
he's supposed to be what, 22 no in the film.
No. He's supposed to be older at this point. He's
No,
like
but they're just out of MIT college.
4
मतलब
years.
4 साल.
So 4 साल तो हो गए.
18 to 22. So we say let's say mid 20s, vaguely like
ठीक
early
है,
to mid
23 या
20s.
24 ही पकड़ लेते हैं.
No, but like that's when you have got a certain level of emotional maturity and you're not playing the naive,
Yes.
kid who is running behind his mentor
he
figure.
doesn't
kind
have
of.
that rhythmic lilt जो पिछले movies में था कि Mr. Stark. I'm like चुप कर, बहुत हो गया, चुप कर. That's not at least here, so that's a good thing anyway. I think we have mostly covered, I think, what we wanted to cover within the movie ka space. I think now the conversation can be कि एक तो where they are going from here. That is one, because I think Holland has said that he wants to make another trilogy.
But he also said he's ready to pass the torch on, like, or he's had a plan for passing the torch on.
Passing the torch, which is again fine. मतलब torch pass करो, that's not an issue. But like the movie is making 900 million its opening weekend. Sony आपको torch pass करने नहीं देगा.
नहीं देगा.
So
वो 40 साल तक, जो 40 साल की उम्र में 30 साल की एक्टिंग
30 साल की एक्टिंग करेगा. हाँ. So I'm like, if you are going to do that, I think at least he's going to make another trilogy. So that's I think pretty much a given at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's also pretty fair to say that this tonality works.
Yeah.
This tonality works for the Spider-Man movies at least. I think थोड़ा और balancing का जरूरत है, at least plotting की तरफ से थोड़ा और better होना चाहिए, because I think, and also can we please have a much more street level Spider-Man movie with no other crossovers, please, for the love of God. एक Spider-Man का movie ही कर दो भाई, बहुत है Rogues Gallery में.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole that they are going after doing all this multiverse kachra, they want to bring it back into a single timeline. Just like give us one where it's just Spider-Man and basically nobody else in the neighborhood, and just let him do his crime fighting on his own time. And not make every 30 seconds you have to stop to say hi to someone else.
मतलब at least when you're stopping to say hi to someone, do it like this. मतलब at least you are in New York. You are not going from New York to London to कहाँ पे जा रहे हो, like outer space. वहाँ पे नहीं हो रहा है. But at this point, just use his Rogues Gallery. He has a very extensive Rogues Gallery. Just use that at this point, Introduce fucking Norman Osborn. Come on, man. मतलब और क्या बोलूं मैं इसके बारे में?
Oscar. Where is
Os-
Oscar?
Where is Oscar? Where is Harry Osborn? Where is
No, no.
not MJ? Where is Gwen Stacy? Where
Hmm.
are these people? Come on. And also some people are losing their mind कि oh my god Peter Parker और Jean Grey के बीच में कुछ होगा कि नहीं. I am like अगर होता भी है तेरे को क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
Yeah,
होने दो.
I mean, people are still putting memes with the dude movie parallels, and
हाँ.
I was like, guys, did you watch the same movie? Did we all watch the same movie? For God's sake.
This is एक लड़का और एक लड़की कभी दोस्त नहीं हो सकते, brain rot only.
Ah,
No,
that's
no,
the-
no, no. I think that also happened because in the movie end where Peter says na
I
कि
have you.
Peter
That-
says na कि you have me and they are like
You
oh my
have
god,
me.
oh my god ये प्यार भी हो गया. I'm like भाई.
No, I mean, like, the entire shtick of it is how he is this, like, he's lovelorn for MJ and he cannot think or feel or anything beyond her. And then wanting all of this is just like, yeah, you're writing you write your fan fiction. You don't narrate the
No,
film
but
for
I'm
this.
also, but
No.
also, but I'm also like
It's
look
like
at it
a
from this
support.
point
It
of
was
view.
a support you give to someone who
No,
is.
but also,
Yeah, it's a platonic
supportive
thing,
word,
bro.
also if this
Yeah.
happens, no, also if this happens, also I wouldn't exactly have a problem with it for one specific reason.
Sure.
Even if these characters have come back into a semblance of what they used to have, because of Kuritzkis's writing, they aren't back together, na? Because
Yeah.
even within the
Obviously.
MCU, there is a semblance of real life going on. So अभी तो मतलब इतना जल्दी तो कोई relationship में नहीं आएगा. That is my
Obviously,
whole
yeah.
point. So if this guy essentially resembles हम लोग के जीवन का कोई भी guy, let this guy have a life. अगर इसको एक
Yeah.
लड़की पसंद है अगर डेट करने देना भाई तेरे को क्या है अगर वो जीन ग्रे ही है तेरे को क्या
Yeah, but
है
like basically
I
not
mean-
what the film's about, brother. Like for
Not
now,
what-
just let it be.
yeah
Yeah.
and they are also like Jean Grey is only with Scott Summers. I'm like पहली बात तो Scott Summers introduce नहीं हुआ है दूसरी बात
Yeah.
X-Men introduce नहीं हुआ है what are you talking about नहीं करना भाई सब yeah so there's that.
Speaking
So
of Jean Grey and
that's one
everything.
thing कि where is this film going also post credit scene which I
speaks-
missed
yeah.
post credit scene which I
Okay.
missed Adityan you had seen the post credit scene
Yeah. It's just the Spidey tracker where it goes to where the Spidey tracker tracks somewhere around in the universe.
outer space right
Outer space. So as I think so, it hints around
so
multiverse.
if the so considering that Spider-Man Brand New Day ka all the leaks have turned out to be true after watching the movie all the leaks have turned out to be true I can definitely state that Doomsday ka leaks bhi are all true so I can
Yeah.
also definitely state that wo tracker is essentially showing and again this is spoiler discussion abhi khatam nahi hua that tracker is definitely pointing to Tobey Maguire ka Spider-Man who is going to die within the first act of Doomsday.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Whoa. I
That
have-
is the
I-
opening. That is going to be the opening act. If the leaks are true, that is the opening act. Ki Maguire ka
No, but
Spider-Man.
definitely Sony needs better cyber security because why does everything leak from them literally
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time?
Disney man.
Disney
Yeah.
bhi or Sony bhi. This is the Sony.
Sony particularly, right?
Yeah,
Sony has
yeah.
had like full films leak or something, no?
Full films leak. Like this
Yeah.
movie just started shooting behind the scenes ka photo started leaking from the first day
Yeah.
of production only.
First
I'm
day,
like, bhai
yeah.
ho kya raha hai
Yeah.
bhai? Kuch
The
to
whole
kar.
trailer leaked, like a week before it came
Two
out.
times trailer leak. 2 times. ट्रेलर लीक 2 टाइम्स एक बार ट्रेलर लीक हुआ एक असिस्टेंट का कंप्यूटर का स्क्रीनशॉट से
Yeah, the other time they had like a big, it was in
A
black
big
and white
X,
and they had a whole
yeah.
big X against over the screen.
and
Yeah.
then Twitter people were like we are going to make the X transparent so people can see more I'm like भाई एक महीना वेट कर ले ट्रेलर आ जाएगा बाप
I
रे।
have two aspects to cover. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
bolo.
talk about
Please go
this
ahead.
much
Bolo,
because
bolo.
we are now and we are now reach the end part where we'll be discussing the next thing for MCU with this brand new. So two things I have to mention with brand new day itself. So one is the music, of course, Michael
Yeah.
Giacchino. I mean something like evangelist spirit has possessed him, something like that. I don't know. I could sense only evangelist in every score this time. It wasn't resembling the classic Spider-Man themes, which was in his
Giacchino
script.
in one of the interviews said कि if you feel that listening to the score that aspects of Spider-Man ka purana score is missing,
Yeah.
that was intentional because he
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
removed
He did.
musical segments.
Yeah, we didn't go with that, and most of the score was in techno synth based scores, which is
Yeah.
similar to Vangelis score, something like Blade Runner had. So I was
Mhm.
thinking of Blade Runner a lot while listening, while the sequence is happening, and two needle drops I love the most, which was EO by Bad Bunny. That needle
Yes.
drop, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this. I didn't watch anything. I didn't expect that needle drop to come over there.
Hmm.
In a Spider-Man movie, Bad Bunny soundtrack. No, definitely not. I didn't expect that. Was so refreshing. And Tame Impala's Loser. That whole
Mhm.
montage, edit everything went so strikingly well with MJ facing or Tom Holland for the first time. So yeah, that worked well. And another thing is why there's another Spider-Man movie which that did the shared grief well was Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse did the shared grief of all the characters well. There was parallels with all the Spider-Man characters, so you can sense the shared grief there. Here you have all the characters somewhat parallelly having a shared grief, but there was the surface level interaction with them, which actually kind of couldn't capture with it. But when it strikes the moment with some good writing, it strikes here. So I mean, it's not as it's not as immersive as you can feel the shared grief in Across the Spider-Verse, but still, you kind of feel here. So that's the major point I want to come get across with this, and we can go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think whether there is anything else left to cover as such. Like, और कुछ
Yeah.
याद आ रहा है?
Again, I think no. I think the only thing left is now the ahead thing. Which also, honestly, to be honest, I don't care. I'm just like it will happen, and we will experience it. Like it's just like MCU is now a force of nature. You just have to succumb to it.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Doomsday is a massive gamble. अगर Doomsday fail हो गया ना, Marvel will have to shutter its doors. इतना
I
पैसा
don't.
गया है.
I don't
I'm
mind.
in the.
I don't mind.
that's
I don't
that's the thing,
mind.
right? If it succeeds, which I think it will, I don't care because that's what was inevitably going to happen. If it fails, I'm going to party. To be very honest, those are so I don't mind either way.
Hmm.
I think that's a good note to end it on. I don't think there's much else left at this point.
Yeah, मतलब it's like after phase 4, it's like Marvel could not maintain the momentum
Yeah.
because they did not develop enough characters for people to actually latch their
Yes.
likings towards. I think it's also because they were hamstrung only. Like they Tom Holland jitna bhi hum bole ki Spider-Man should be the face, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is ultimately a Sony product and they are not going to
Yeah.
use a Sony product. The other face they could have used is Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, and Boseman sadly passes away. That's another problem. The third phase they could have used is Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange ke baad I
They
have no
ruined it.
idea what happened. What happened uske
They
baad.
ruined
So
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and फिर जॉनथन मेजर्स का वो सब केस तो होता ही रहता है. अब लाइक क्या ही कर सकते हैं उसके बारे में.
I mean, after phase 3 is or phase 4 is Endgame.
Phase 3 is Endgame.
Yeah, I think after phase 3, it was just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
अरे
And
फिर
I
COVID आ
don't
गया,
think
COVID आ गया, and Bob Chapek is like, put everything in Disney Plus, make more content, and I'm like, you
yeah,
are
but
oversaturating it now.
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, I still think when the show phase was happening in COVID, there was still because again they were centered on particular characters. So you were getting a bit of development, so say Loki, WandaVision, or Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
But by the time you start getting to like the Marvels and Eternals, where it's just ensemble film after ensemble film, where there's no focus, it's just like, will if any of this works, then we'll go in this direction, kind of a thing. Then there's no way that it's going to stick.
And it's also like when you are making shows, टीवी शो का ग्रामर अलग ही है, ठीक है. यू
Yeah.
कैन नॉट मेक 6 to 10 hour मूवी एंड कॉल दैट अ शो. वैसा होता नहीं है भाई.
And you can't expect the MCU movie audience to have caught up on the MCU
Yes,
shows. Like
exactly.
they're
हाँ
different
मतलब
audiences.
हम सब मेरे तरफ या आदित्यन की तरफ या अदर पीपल की तरफ पागल नहीं है ना. एंड इवन आदित्यन
Yeah.
डजंट फॉलो एवरीथिंग. इवन आई
Yeah.
स्ट्रगल टू फॉलो एवरीथिंग एट
Yes,
दिस पॉइंट.
exactly.
Yeah.
या वो
Like
होता
I
नहीं
think
है.
it was better earlier when the two were like the parallel tracks. Like you got like the Moon Knight show, I
Moon
think,
Knight show.
and Agents of Shield and all, which
Yeah,
were
yeah.
like parallel. There was like this is the TV show audience for Kire TV shows. This is the movie audience Kire movies. When they decided to converge the two, all went to shits because this audience doesn't watch that, that audience doesn't watch this, and everybody's
Which
just
is one of the
satisfied.
issues I think Thunderbolts also had, because Thunderbolts
Hmm.
very much was like a Black Widow का recessive gene यहाँ पे है. कैप्टन अमेरिका विंटर सोल्जर का विलेन है
Yeah.
यहाँ पे.
That
एंटमैन एंड द
Captain
वास्प
America new movie
क्वांटमेनिया का
also.
विलेन है यहाँ पे. एंड दे आर लाइक ये कौन है. One of the bigger problems with Thunderbolts is the fact that most people were saying, who are these people?
Yeah.
Why should I care?
Yes,
I think
exactly.
Bucky would be the only character people would know, right? Basically.
Yeah. Fully.
Thunderbolts I watched today only. I liked it.
You liked it, right? It's a good movie. I
Yeah,
also
it's
liked
good.
it.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie, but again the MCU problem.
Yeah, MCU
Yeah.
problem 100%. It's like, which is also one of the reason, like they are at this point extremely saturated. Like Daredevil, Born Again, nobody saw. I'm like, what are you people doing with the marketing only at this point? I have no freaking idea.
And the
कुछ भी-
interesting concepts never come to fruition. See also Blade.
See
Yeah.
also Blade.
Blade,
Interesting concept छोड़ो. वो कोई interesting concept भी नहीं है. A guy hunts vampires. ये कितना और कितना hard होगा? How hard is this?
And Blade is like a super anticipated. I don't know much about it, but I know it's super anticipated. Like they've been trying to get it off the
They
ground
have
for
been trying to
ages,
get
right?
it on since the start of Phase 4, to the
Phase
extent कि Eternals का post credit scene में
Yeah.
मार्शल अली का
Blade.
voice over है.
Yeah.
मार्शल अली का post credit scene में voice over है.
Eternals was a wasted potential, man. I still can't
Eternals
fathom
should
the
have been
fact
the TV series. I'm
that-
telling
Yes,
you.
yes.
Eternals
It
should
had
have
a lot of material for a TV
Eternals
series.
is the Zhao film, right?
Yeah, Zhao film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which
It
no one
had-
liked apparently except me. I thought it was
I kind
fine
of
only.
liked it. Fine,
Yeah.
fine.
So
Yes.
MCU is essentially now at its death's door, and now Kevin Feige is essentially trying to resurrect it by any means, by hook or by crook. और उसके लिए we are getting
By
Doomsday, which
Ekta
looks
Kapoor.
yeah, by Ekta Kapoor. Yeah, उसके लिए we are getting Doomsday, a movie which I know for a fact that it's not going to go very well, but I'm still going to watch it because I'm still curious to see क्या कर रहे हैं. But honest to God, I'm just telling you, अगर I have to take that Robert Downey Jr. का accent seriously and I have to pretend that is acting masterwork, I'm going to literally KYS at this point. क्योंकि क्या है वो क्या है? What is that accent? Seriously. And
He's supposed
Russo
to be like
brothers,
Romani or something,
yeah,
no?
and the Russo brothers and all, like when we heard that accent, we were having chills.
Actually, I liked Fantastic Four movie when it was until the post credit scene.
Yeah.
Until the post credit scene, I loved Fantastic Four, the new movie.
Very
I
fun.
won't
Because
say
it was
I
so
won't say I
original,
loved
so
it.
cool.
I won't say I
Yeah.
loved it, Adityan, but I think that movie should have been at least half an hour to 40 minutes
Yes,
longer. That
longer.
movie-
It could have been longer because it was
I think-
after a superb second act, they rushed up the third act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fully.
No, but I think it was the first time in a long time that MCU or an MCU film was was new, interesting, and
Yeah.
engaging, and not bogged down by the universe stuff, and
Yes.
got to breathe.
Also,
on its
Yes.
also
own.
by the way, special effects were actually good. I was like,
Good,
hey,
good.
wait.
Really.
Yeah.
Aesthetics.
The
I think the
second
production
act.
design.
Best second
Yeah,
act.
I think
best
the production design was impeccable. I
Yeah.
mean, little bit of there is there in Loki as well, but here the retrofuturism,
Same
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
the
na.
costume design,
Yeah.
yeah.
Matt Shackman.
Same guy, na. Michael Waldron, same guy. Loki
Yeah.
and Fantastic Four, same guy.
No, but Fantastic
But-
Four is directed by
Matt Shackman.
the
Matt Shackman.
the WandaVision.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, same guy. Matt Shackman.
Yeah.
Matt Shackman also did that. Yeah.
It was unique, but until that Doomsday post credit scene, I don't know, man. I'm hating everything of Doomsday. man.
I am very concerned. Very concerned. मतलब क्या हो रहा है? I have legit concern now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, at this
Anyways.
point, it's like comic books mein there used to be something called the Ultimate Universe. After a couple of bad decisions, all the Ultimate Universe books stopped selling and they stopped publishing Ultimate Universe books except one book. That was there from the beginning. That is Ultimate Spider-Man. I am like, अगर MCU का यही हालत है कि सब खत्म हो जाए, बस स्पाइडरमैन बचा रहे, I'll be completely happy. कुछ नहीं चाहिए, बस स्पाइडरमैन चलने दो. Seriously, at this point, seriously, और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Par for the course only. X-Men से भी ज्यादा experiment मत करो. Anyway, on that
On that
cheerful note, on that very, 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 very cheerful note, this has been our conversation about Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think reiterated a lot of thoughts that a lot of critics are saying, but I hope that we did point out some things that are quite different than the usual fare. Again, this is an MCU movie, kitna bhi unusual fare kar sakte hai. But at least I think we hoped and provided some context. If you would like to follow us, if you would actually like this conversation, do you need to like or subscribe in Spotify? I don't think so, but at least give us a follow. And also like and subscribe on subscribe the YouTube channel. वैसे भी subscribers काफी कम है. All our social media details will be present in the description. Do give us a follow on Letterboxd. That is the one social media we are all like very much active in. बाकी सारे में कुछ ज़्यादा activity नहीं है. On that note, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around for so long. And खत्म.